Chivalry, or the chivalric language, was an informal and evolving code of conduct that developed in France between 1170 and 1220. It is associated with the medieval Christian institution of knighthood, whose members belonged to various chivalric orders, and whose behavior was governed by social codes. The ideas of chivalry were popularized in medieval literature, especially in the cycles known as the Matter of France, centered around Charlemagne and his paladins, and the Matter of Britain, shaped by Geoffrey of Monmouth, and his Historia Regum Britanniae, which popularized the legend of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The code of chivalry had roots in earlier centuries. It arose in the Carolingian Empire from the idealization of the cavalryman, emphasizing military bravery, individual training and service. Particularly amongst those soldiers in Charlemagne's forces. Over time, its meaning expanded to include broader moral and social virtues. By the late Middle Ages, chivalry had become a moral system combining a warrior ethos, knightly piety, and courtly manners, forming a unified ideal of honor and nobility. Terminology and definitions. The term chivalry derives from the Old French chevalerie, meaning house soldiery. Initially, it referred specifically to mounted warriors, from cheval, horse, and gradually became associated with knightly ideas. The word chevalier originally described a man of aristocratic standing, capable of equipping himself as a heavy cavalryman and undergoing the rituals of knighthood. Thus, chevalerie first denoted the body of heavy cavalry, appearing in English from 1292. Its meaning broadened as chevalier evolved from a strictly military designation to an ethical ideal shaped by romance, literature, and courtly love traditions. These influences transformed chivalry into a model of the Christian warrior ethos. Three medieval works summarize these ideas. The anonymous Ordre de Chevalier, describing the ritual of knighthood, Ramon Lull's Livre de l'Ordre de Chevalier, devoted to the nature of knighthood, and Geoffroy de Charny, Livre de Chevalier, emphasizing knightly prowess. Though independent, these texts collectively portray chivalry as a way of life combining military, noble, and religious elements. The code of chivalry is thus a product of the late Middle Ages, shaped partly by idealized memories of crusading knights and the culture of courtly love. Ten Commandments of Chivalry. In 1884, Léon Gautier compiled what he called the 10 Commandments of Chivalry. They are as follows: believe and observe the teachings of the Church. defend the church, protect the weak, love one's homeland, do not retreat before the enemy, fight the infidel relentlessly, fulfill feudal duties unless contrary to God's law, be truthful and faithful, be generous, defend justice and goodness, no such medievalist existed. Gautier's version is a modern synthesis drawn from the 12th and 13th century romances. Chivalry, literary chivalry and historical reality. Since the late medieval ages, many have believed chivalry was once a fully realized social system. However, modern scholarship suggests that the age of chivalry recedes further into the past the more closely it is examined. Jean-Charles Léonard de Sismondi distinguished between feudalism and chivalry. The former was historical reality, while the latter was an ideal shaped by literature. He argued that chivalry existed largely in the imagination of Romance writers, who projected ideals of honor, devotion, and virtue onto earlier ages. Historical accounts of the period describes violence, corruption, and inequality, while later literary works depict refined and virtuous societies. This contrast suggests that chivalry was less a lived reality than a retrospective idealization. History. Europe before 1170, courtliness and the noble habitus. Before codified chivalry, there existed an uncodified noble ethos centered on the prud'homme, a wise, honest, and capable man. This ethos, described as the noble habitus, encompassed behavioral expectations shared across society. Scholars such as Pierre Bourdieu and Maurice Merleau-Ponty later theorized this concept, though its roots extend back to Aristotle. David Crouch argues that his habitus formed the foundation of chivalry and was closely linked to courtoise, or refined conduct appropriate to aristocratic courts. Courtliness was taught within the noble households and predated formal chivalric codes. Key elements of this pre-chivalric ethos included loyalty, essential for warrior society and closely tied to reputation. Forbearance, meaning self-control and restraint, valued in both warfare and in court life. Hardiness, physical strength and prowess, often determining noble status. Largesse, generosity and disdain for greed. The Davidic ethic, protecting of the weak and moral leadership. Honor, which is the central value, loss of which was worse than death. By the 12th century, these qualities evolved into a more formalized code, combining many moral, religious, and social expectations. The crisis of courtliness and rise of chivalry. Courtliness remained influential throughout medieval society, extending beyond the nobility. However, in the late 12th century, a more exclusive definition of nobility emerged, particularly affecting knights. Knights, often drawn from younger noble sons, adopted aristocratic behaviors and values. David Crouch identifies a turning point in the households of Henry II's sons, especially Henry the Young King, whose lavish lifestyle and association with tournament culture helped elevate the knight as a model of noble identity. At the same time, writers began criticizing the materialism of courtly society. Works like Raoul de Hodenc, Roman de Zélès shifted moral emphasis toward the knight as a figure embodying generosity and virtue, distinct from courtly excess. Themes of chivalric literature. Chivalric literature typically organizes knightly duties into three areas. To others, which is courage, fairness, protection of the weak, and loyalty. To God, which is faith, defense of the church, and moral righteousness. And lastly, to women, which is courtly love, devotion, and courtesy. These emphases produce different strands of chivalry. Warrior chivalry, loyalty to one's own lord. Religious chivalry, service to God and protection of the innocent. And courtly love chivalry, devotion to a lady. Origins in military ethos. Chivalry developed alongside changes in military practice and social structure. It regulated behavior in warfare, encouraging loyalty, restraint, and the capture rather than killing of noble opponents for ransom. Despite evolving ideals, martial skill remained central as warfare changed in the early modern period. Chivalry became increasingly associated with tournaments and dueling rather than battlefield conduct. Hunting and heraldry also became important aspects of knightly identity, reinforcing status and tradition. Chivalry and Christianity. Christianity reshaped earlier heroic ideals, integrating them into a moral framework. movements such as the peace and truth of God sought to limit violence and protect the vulnerable, while just war theory legitimized warfare under certain conditions. The concept of the Miles Christi, Knights of Christ, emerged in the 11th century, linking knighthood to religious duty. The Crusades further reinforced this connection, though chivalry itself extended beyond crusading ideology. The Church promoted the idea of the knight as a moral agent, combining martial skill with spiritual purpose. Devotion to the Virgin Mary also influenced chivalric ideals, particularly the emphasis on honoring women. Influence of the Moors and the Romans. The works of Roman poets like Ovid and Cicero bore some similarities to the typical depiction of romance in chivalric literature during the Middle Ages. In Ovid's work, lovers became sleepless, grew pale, and lost their appetite, while Cicero's works celebrated the ennobling power of love. Some scholars also point to the romantic poetry of the Arabs as antecedents to the depiction of courtly love in medieval European literature. In the works of the Cordoban author Ibn Hazm, for example, lovers develop passions for slave boys as well as girls, interchangeably, and the slave is recognized as now the master of his beloved. Ibn Hazm's The Ring of the Dove is a noteworthy depiction of a lover's extreme submissiveness. Medieval courtly literature glorifies the valor, tactics, and ideals of both Moors and the ancient Romans. For example, the ancient handbook of warfare, written by Vegetius, called De Re Militari, was translated into French in the 13th century as L'Art de Chevalerie by Jean de Meaux. Later writers also drew from Vegetius, such as Honoré Bonnet, who wrote the 14th century L'Après des Batailles, which discussed the morals and laws of war. In the 15th century, Christine de Bézin combined themes from Vegetius, Bonnet, and Frontinus in Livre de faits d'armée et de chevalerie. Late Middle Ages. In the 14th century, chronicles such as those by Jean Froissart documented events like the 100 Years' War, revealing the gap between chivalric ideals and battlefield realities. Heavily armored knights were often defeated by common soldiers using longbows, undermining traditional notions of noble warfare. At the same time, social upheavals and the rise of professional armies reduced the military importance of knights. Mercenary leaders and common soldiers gained prominence, often operating outside chivalric norms. Despite this, chivalry experienced a cultural revival, particularly in ceremonial forms. Johann Huizinga described this as an attempt to preserve an idealized past, where aristocratic life became a performance of honor and refinement. Chivalric values also spread beyond the nobility. Wealthy merchants adopted aristocratic manners, and courtesy literature emerged to guide behavior, contributing to the development of the modern gentleman ideal. Criticism. Modern historians have challenged the view of chivalry as a stabilizing force. Richard W. Cooper argues that knights often contributed to disorder and that chivalric codes were inconsistent and contradictory. Knighthood existed in tension with the church, monarchy, and emerging commercial classes. While the church sought to reform knightly behavior, rulers struggled to control it, and merchants often clashed with its values. Some later writers, such as Kennel Henry Digby and Leon Gautier, idealized chivalry as a moral system, while others, like Charles Mills, interpret it as a social rather than military phenomenon. Modern times. End of chivalry. Chivalry evolved in a response to changing conditions, which ultimately led to its decline. By the 15th century, multiple interpretations existed, as reflected in Sir Thomas Malory's Le Mort d'Arthur, which presented a nostalgic vision of a fading ideal. The Wars of the Roses further fragmented knightly society, although some knights continued to uphold chivalric ideals. Warfare increasingly relied on professional infantry, reducing opportunities for traditional knightly conduct. The institution of knighthood persisted, but its meaning changed. By the reign of Elizabeth I, the creation of knights became a royal prerogative, and the age of independent knightly identity had ended. Some historians identify figures like Sir Edward Woodville as among the last representatives of the chivalric tradition. By the end of the Middle Ages, chivalry had largely disappeared as a practical code, surviving instead as a cultural and literary ideal. Modern manifestations and revivals. From Walter Scott, Ivanhoe, 1820. Chivalry, why maiden? She is the nurse of pure and high affection, the stay of the oppressed, the redresser of grievances, the curb of the power of the tyrant. Nobility were but an empty name without her, and liberty finds the best protection in her lance and her sword. chivalric ideal persisted into the early modern and modern periods and founding of chivalry orders by European monarchs and nobility reached its height in the late Middle Ages, but continued through the Renaissance and into the Baroque era. Examples include the Tuscan Order of Saint Stephen, 1561, the French Order of Saint Louis, 1693, and the Anglo-Irish Order of St. Patrick, 1783. Many dynastic orders of knighthood remain active in countries that preserve monarchical traditions. At the same time, changing courtly values in the Baroque period led to chivalry being seen as outdated or distinctly medieval. This shift is reflected in Don Quixote, 1605 to 1615, which satirized chivalric romances by portraying adherents to their ideals as anachronistic. The novel gave rise to the concept of Quixoticism, representing misguided devotion to obsolete ideals. Nevertheless, elements of Romanticism in the late 18th and early 19th century attempted to revive medieval aesthetics and values, including chivalry. Despite this cultural shift, the behavioral code of military officers remained strongly influenced by chivalric ideals well into the modern era. From the Napoleonic Wars through the American Civil War, and even to some extent into World War I, military conduct continued to reflect notions of honor, duty, and personal bravery. This influence contributed to a pronounced dueling culture, which extended beyond the military into civilian life among the upper classes. However, broader geopolitical and religious changes altered the context in which chivalry operated. With the decline of the Ottoman Empire, the long-standing external threat framed as opposition to the infidel diminished. Meanwhile, the European wars of religion shifted conflict inwards. As Christian factions fought one another, these developments contributed to the rise of a new military ethos based more on nationalism than on religious defense. Victorian revival and transformation. In the 19th century, social commentators sought to revive chivalric ideals in response to the social disruption of the Industrial Revolution. Thinkers such as Thomas Carlyle proposed a chivalry of labor, in which industrial leaders would act as moral guides in hierarchical yet socially responsible systems. Similarly, John Ruskin incorporated chivalric principles into his vision of an ideal commonwealth, emphasizing moral duty and social cohesion. During this period, the term gallantry increasingly replaced chivalry to describe refined behavior, particularly in relation to interactions between upper-class men and women. Gallantry reflected the Baroque emphasis on elegance and social polish rather than the martial and religious aspects of earlier chivalric ideals. there were also explicit attempts to revive chivalry as a guiding principle for modern gentlemanly conduct. Kenelm Henry Digby's The Broad Stone of Honor defined chivalry as a spirit that inspires heroic action and cultivates appreciation for moral and intellectual beauty. This reinterpretation framed chivalry less as a historical system and more as a moral disposition. Decline in the 20th century. In the early 20th century, traditional chivalric ideals, particularly their emphasis on masculine virtue, came under increasing criticism. Movements advocating gender equality, including certain suffragette groups, challenged the notion that women required protection or special treatment. At the same time, the decline of aristocratic society and the fading of dueling culture weakened the social foundation of chivalry. The First World War marked a decisive turning point. The scale and mechanization of modern warfare rendered traditional ideals of individual bravery and honor increasingly irrelevant. By the mid-20th century, chivalry was widely regarded as outdated. This shift was symbolically reflected in the disappearance of the dress sword as a standard element of a gentleman's attire. Once a visible sign of status and honor, the sword's decline marked the end of a long historical tradition dating back to the Bronze Age, when it first emerged as a symbol of the free warrior. During the same period, certain aspects of chivalry, such as the ideal of protecting women, came to be seen as outdated or even patronizing. The image of the damsel in distress became associated with melodrama rather than a serious moral ideal. Nevertheless, the concept of chivalry retained some relevance in sociological discussions, particularly in analyzing gender dynamics. For example, it has been used to describe the tendency of society to prioritize the protection of women over men, or to highlight disparities in how male and female victims are represented in media. A broader criticism of chivalry. Criticism of chivalry extended beyond modern debates. Miguel de Cervantes in Don Quixote attacked chivalric literature for its historical inaccuracy and potential to mislead readers. While he appreciated certain moral principles associated with chivalry, he rejected the idea that these ideals accurately reflected historical reality. More recent scholars have also challenged simplified interpretations of chivalry. Peter Wright argues that there is no single, unified concept of chivalry, but rather multiple chivalries, each with its own context and code of conduct. He distinguishes, for example, between military chivalry, focused on warfare and discipline, and romantic chivalry, centered on relationship with women. This perspective highlights the diversity and adaptability of chivalric ideals. pencil in your hand. You see somebody naked. You say, who's that man? You try so hard, but you don't understand. Just like you will say when you get home. Because something is happening here, and you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Got so many contacts out there among the lumberjacks to give you the facts when somebody attacks your imagination. Nobody's got any respect. Anyway, they already expect you to just give a check to the tax-deductible charity organizations.